I'm not joking when I say that barring something insanity to happen, this will be the only time I talk about the Carolina Panthers. This will be the only time I talk about Bryce Young, but there was some breaking news out in the NFL today, and people always ask me, they'll always say, you know what, Ben, I don't get it. Why do you only talk Cowboys? Why do you only talk Eagles? Why do you only talk Niners? Because those are the teams people care about. I'm not going to talk about I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan. I'm not going to talk a ton about the Arizona Cardinals because outside of Phoenix, I might be the only fan. It's just what it is. So I talk Cowboys. I talk Lakers. I talk Phoenix Suns. They got a lot of stars. I talk big brands. I don't want to talk about the Carolina Panthers because this will probably be my lowest rated segment, but it's something that needs to be talked about. Dave Tepper is now firing his third head coach. He'll be on his fourth head coach soon. Ron Rivera is seen upon as many as a rock-solid head coach and has made a Super Bowl. Frank Reich was instrumental to that 2017 Philadelphia Eagles championship team. He was the guy that helped Nick Foles, just orchestrate the best Nick Foles has ever been. And Matt Rule, a guy I defended last year. I said, you're gonna fire Matt Rule? Listen, I get it. Maybe Matt Rule wasn't very good. I don't watch a ton of Carolina Panthers football. This team owns my organization. I have bad memories of the Carolina Panthers. 2015 NFC Conference Championship game completely dismantled my Arizona Cardinals. So I'm going to be the first one to concede. I don't watch a ton of Carolina Panthers football. Frank Reich could have been a disaster. I'm just going to state the obvious, though. And I took a lot of backlash on Twitter because I said, maybe Matt Rule isn't the complete problem. And what looks to be Matt Rule wasn't the complete problem for the Carolina Panthers. He was pointed at as a buffoon. And I said, dude, have you seen who he's got at quarterback? Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker. Bill Belichick couldn't win with those quarterbacks in his prime. Andy Reid could not win with those quarterbacks in his prime. We saw Andy Reid go to the playoffs with Alex Smith. He wasn't getting there with the quarterbacks that Matt Rule had. I took so much heat for that. You don't know what you're talking about. The play calling sucks. He is not good at the podium. He's bad here. I was like, okay, Matt Rule's probably not an NFL caliber coach. It's fine. But you're blaming him? And now I have the same exact take with Frank Reich. You're blaming Frank Reich? I don't care if Frank Reich walked into the GM's office and said, I want Bryce Young, get me Bryce Young yesterday. Although I was the only person, humble brag, that said, well, probably not the only person, but I was one of the minority that said, hey, CJ Stroud is big, tall, fast, and has a huge arm. He probably just needs to be a little bit refined. Don't worry about the Wonderlic score. It's mostly dumb in 2023. He is a elite quarterback just waiting to happen. And unlike the fanboys that are the NFL, everyone was like, we're staying away from him because he goes to that college where quarterbacks don't succeed, which is the dumbest thing. There's literal no statistical knowledge to back it up. It's just grasping at straws. So I said, CJ Stroud is awesome. Go get CJ Stroud. And of course, they didn't listen to me because why would you listen to the guy in his mother's basement? I'm not actually in my mother's basement, guys. Someone made a joke about that on YouTube, and I thought it was funny because I find it funny when people make fun of me. I just think it's hilarious. Anyways, fire not Frank Reich. Again, I don't care if he walked into the office of the GM and said, get me Bryce Young. That's the GM's job. The GM is the one that traded away your best offensive piece left because Christian McCaffrey wasn't there anymore, multiple picks for Bryce Young. Sub 6 foot, tiny arm. There was no special in college, mostly playing with a bunch of NFL first round picks at Bama. Bryce Young. I was scratching my head at the time. Frank Reich can absolutely coach. Maybe he's an OC. That's fine. Maybe he's not a head coach, but he can coach. So shifting the blame on him is just insanity. Do you know what the personnel is for the Carolina Panthers offense? The offensive line is probably the worst in the NFL. I will say it is the worst in the NFL. Tight ends, they got Hayden Hurst out there, who's on his fourth team now? Wide receivers, Their best wide receiver is old man Adam Thielen, that when he was succeeding in his prime was a wide receiver too. Who else do they have? I couldn't even name you the other wide receivers they have. I'll tell you what, they drop a lot of passes. And then Bryce Young. Sub 6 foot, nothing special, tiny arm. Bryce Young, the guy that looks smaller than Kyler Murray on the field. There is no special with Bryce Young. You can't have a sub 6 foot guy out there that has no special. With Kyler Murray, he might be the most athletic dude on the field and the fastest dude on the field, and he's got a bigger arm than you know of. Kyler Murray may work in the NFL. I think he will, but there's special there. There's no special with Bryce Young. Just zero. So to blame Frank Reich, even if he was calling the same boneheaded plays, Andy Reid is not winning more than 4 games with this personnel. Adam Thielen, who was let go by the Vikings. Hayden Hurst, who's on his 4th team, if I'm not mistaken. Chuba Hubbard, a guy who has not really panned out as an NFL running back. Miles Sanders, who mostly benefited from the Eagles' offensive line last year. The offensive line of the Carolina Panthers, that's the worst in the NFL, and you're blaming Frank Reich? The Panthers are a real-life tire fire. No one is going to want to go coach that team, and I mean no one as in no up-and-coming young head coaches are going to want to go there. Because you have a temperamental owner, a quarterback that you are strapped to. You cannot let go of Bryce Young right now. You have to stick with him at least for another season. And you think that's an attractive job? Dude, Frank Reich is better than the alternative. I don't know who's coming in through that door, but it's not Ben Johnson. We saw Adam Schefter today talk on the Pat McAfee show. He said, yeah, there's going to be like 7 to 10 firings in the NFL this year. Rank the Panthers. Not a lot of picks. You traded those away. Best offensive player gone. No stars, no Pro Bowlers on that offensive line. No Pro Bowlers on that offense in general. You think you're going to attract a good candidate better than Frank Reich? Continuity matters in the NFL. And when you go from Ron Rivera to Matt Rule to now Frank Reich to whoever it is, that's all in the span since 2019. It's only been 4 years. How are you going to build a winning culture if you're pulling the plug on everyone? You will not attract a sexy, good candidate, a candidate that will help lead your team and build a culture better than Frank Reich. You just won't. I don't care how bad Frank Reich has been. I don't watch the Carolina Panthers. I'll full on say I haven't watched a ton of Carolina Panthers. You could get Andy Reid. You're not winning 5 games with this offense. You're not winning 5 games of Bryce Young until you put some pieces around him. Because this is bad. This is a dysfunctional organization. And the Panthers better take a hard look in the mirror and stop blaming head coaches. Dave Tepper. Want to make sure I'm saying his name right. Have it right here. We actually do prep on the show. I know, crazy, right? Dave Tepper. Look at me, making things up as I go. This is more on the general manager of anything. You're going to blame anyone. Blame Scott Fitterer. The dummy who traded multiple picks in their best offensive piece for a sub-6 foot quarterback with no special. Stop blaming offensive coaches. Stop blaming head coaches. Stop blaming Matt Rule. Stop blaming Ron Rivera. Stop blaming Frank Reich. No one's winning with this roster. And until you develop a culture and give a coach a chance to change and turn your team around, you will never attract free agents. You're already a not free agent destination. This ain't going to help. Ben Johnson ain't walking through that door. He's not taking this tire fire of a job. He can pick whatever job he wants. And he'd rather go with the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert than your tire fire of an organization. Stop blaming head coaches. Look in the mirror. Establish a culture. Establish an organization that is not such an embarrassment to everyone. Carolina Panthers have severe problems, and I'm not blaming or putting all the blame on Frank Reich, Matt Rule, or Ron Rivera. There's much deeper issues here.